today's lesson we're going to be looking at solids, and we have not necessarily used solids quite yet for too much, but this gets us into a little bit more detail about how to handle solids and also solid primitives. We have here a list of the various primitives that are available to us. Box obviously is a very common one. We've used sphere a little bit with the duck, and these can really help us out because they give us something to work from, a shape, a starting point that we can deform that shape and make it into what we want. The first exercise that we're going to use these solids with in this section is exercise 55 on page 166, and they have us model a bar with text. So they tell us to start off with a small objects millimeters template, and so I'm going to go ahead and move into Rhino and start that. So small objects millimeters, I'll open that up and it gives me a fresh screen. Now it takes me through the first use of one of my solids, which is a box. So using the solid pull down, I'm going to choose box and corner to corner height. The first corner of base is going to be the origin, which is 0. And our directions tell us that the length is 15, the width is 6, and the height is 1. So as you can see in the perspective view, we get just a basic box shape to begin with. On to the next page, and if you notice when you click on this box, it's all one object. It's just all one object. Everything highlights whenever I click on any part of it. So this first step in this is to extract the top and the sides of this box. So going to the solid pull down, I'm going to choose extract surface. And I'm going to pick both sides and then the top surface as well. I'll hit enter, and now notice that they are separate parts. And they want us to delete the two ends of this object. So again, notice how now there is no crosshair on that end because there's no surface there. If I shade this, you can see that I actually can see right through it. Okay, the next step is to rebuild the top surface. I want to deform it a little bit, but before I deform it, I need to rebuild. So I'll select the top surface. I'll go to the edit pull down and choose rebuild. We did this same command with the duck. The point count and the degree are 4 for the point count and 3 for the degree. Should be the default setting. If not, just make the changes and click OK. And then I need to turn on the control points, which I can do by using F10, or I can go to control points and control points on. And you can see now that I have some dots or squares there that are my control points. And they want me to look at the right view. I'm going to zoom in here on my right view, and you'll see these two control points in the middle. If I use a window to select those two control points, notice in my perspective view that I didn't just select the two on the end, but I also selected each pair behind it. And now I'm going to grab one of those, hold down the shift key, and drag up until that row of dots is lined up with the next grid line above. And it gives a slight curve to the top of this box to make it more of a bar. Once I'm done moving those, I'm going to turn off my control points, which is F11, or I can go back to edit control points and control points off. Okay, I'm going to look at my top view, and I want to highlight the entire bar, and I want to join it all back together because the top surface was separate from the other parts. So I'll go to Edit and then Join. Now, just to verify that the whole object is selected as one piece. Now I want to put the caps back on the ends, the parts that I deleted, but now that I have that curved portion to the top, I need to place new caps on this. So I'll go back to Solid, and then Cap Planar Holes. And it wants me to select the surface. I'll click my object and hit Enter, and you can see now that I have a surface on the end. If I shade, you can see that there are surfaces on the end of the bar as well. The next step is to fillet the edges. So I will begin by choosing Solid, and then Fillet Edge, and Fillet Edge again. The current radius should be 1, which it is, but if it is not, you can simply click current radius and type in 1 and then hit Enter. And it wants me to pick the 4 vertical edges. So that'll be here, 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 and then spin around to get the last one over here. So I've got my 4 vertical edges. I hit Enter, and then Enter again for select the fillet handle, and it rounds it off. You can see that best in the top view. Each corner now is rounded. The next step has me adding a fillet to the other horizontal edges. And that's on page 168. So in order to do this, I'm going to select all the surfaces, and then go to Solid, Fillet Edge, and Fillet Edge again. This time the current radius needs to be 0.2. So I'll click current radius, type in 0.2, and again I'm going to select the whole object, and it's going to put a curved edge or rounded edge on all sides. Hit Enter, Enter again, and you can see that I've got that filleted corner on both the top and the bottom of the bar. Okay. Next, I'm going to adjust some of my layers. So I'm actually going to do 2 different types of text on this bar. One is engraved and the other is embossed. And so in order to do that, I need 2 copies of the bar to begin with. So I'm going to select the bar. I'm going to go to the Edit pull down. I'm going to go to Layers, and I'm going to choose Copy Objects to Layer. And in this case, I want to pick layer 01 to copy it to. I'll click OK. Now that it's been copied, I need to make sure I turn off layer 1. So I'll come down here to my list of layers and go to layer 1 and hit the light bulb to turn off layer 1. So now this bar is on the default layer, and I have a second bar on layer 1. Next, I want to change to layer 2, make that the active layer, and I want to go to the solid pull down, and I want to add text. So solid text, and the default text that comes up should say Rhino, which is actually what we want to leave it at. And they also want us to use Arial font as our font, or Arial Black as our font. Under Create, we want to make sure that we choose solids. Our solid height is going to be 3, and our solid thickness is 1. And the last setting to verify under this text object box is that the group objects is checked. So I'll click OK, and it wants me to insert this in the top view. And just do your best to get it fairly centered in this view, in the top view within the bar. So I'll click to place that text, and now you can see in my right view that I actually created the Rhino text with a thickness to it. But it wants me to grab that text, hold down the Shift key, and drag it up so that it's part in and part out of the top of the box, or of the bar. So there it is in the perspective view. You can see part of the Rhino text is above and part of it is below or inside of the bar. Now I'm going to use the difference command to remove or subtract the Rhino text from the bar itself. So I'm going to select the bar. I'm going to go to Solid and then Difference. And then I'm going to select the text and hit Enter. And you can see that it's engraved or removed the Rhino text from the bar itself. Okay, the next part on page 170 titles Using a Model for Illustration. So I want to turn layer 1 on and turn the default layer off. If I turn the default layer off first, you'll see that there's nothing there, but turning layer 1 on, remember we made that copy, so now I have a copy of that bar that I had made. From the solid menu, I'm going to use the Extract Surface command again, and I'm going to click the top surface. Press Enter. So again, that divided the bar, separated the top surface of the bar from the rest of it. So you can see that this is a separate object now. It wants me to lock the lower bar. So I'll click the lower part of the bar. I'll go to Edit, and then Visibility and Lock. This will prevent me from making any changes to the lower part of the bar until I unlock it again. Notice once it's locked, it has a shaded gray look to it. Alright, I'm going to move to my top viewport, make it active. I'll go back to Solid and Text. And this time for Create, instead of solids, I'm going to select curves. And then click OK. Everything else will stay the same. In my top viewport, again, try to center the Rhino text as best you can. Click and place it. OK. I'm actually going to project this Rhino text up to the top surface. So I'm going to select the top surface. I'm going to go to the Edit menu and then Split. And in this case, I'm going to pick all of the text surfaces. And hit Enter. Notice what happened. It projected the outline of the text onto the top surface. Okay. Now I want to select each of the text surfaces, and I'm going to hide them. In order to do that, I need to use my Shift key to select multiple surfaces. So make sure that you get each of the letters. Again, holding down the Shift key allows me to select multiple letters at the same time. I want to group these all together now. So Edit, Groups, and then Group. Now one of the things that I need to be careful of here is that it wanted me to hide the original surface. So if I go back to my perspective view and I go wireframe, I still have that purple text down here. And so again, it wants me to hide that original text. And the only way I can see that in this case is to change back to the wireframe view in my perspective. So Edit, Visibility, and Hide, and that text is hidden. Alright, I want to select that group of text that I just created, and you'll notice that when I click on one of those letters, I have the option of choosing the whole group that I just created. And then I'm going to, it asks me to change the color. We're actually going to change the material down the road, but just to show you real quick, under the Properties panel, F3 again if you don't have it up, I can switch to Material, and then Basic, and just change the color here, maybe to a yellow. Click OK, and to see that I can right click on Perspective and Render, and you'll notice the bar is white but the letters are yellow. Right, I'm ready to emboss this text now. So from the Edit menu, I'm going to go back and use the Select Objects Previous Selection. I was just going to select that group that I already have of text. I'll go back to Solids and Extract Surfaces again. I'm sorry. It's Extrude Surface, not Extract Surface. So Solid and Extrude Surface, Straight. Pick that group again, and make sure that you pick the group of text. Press Enter when done, and it's going to ask me now to go through the settings for this text that I'm extruding. The directions tell us to use both sides, set to yes. So if it says no here, click on it so that it changes to yes. Cap is also yes. Delete input is yes. And then finally our extrusion distance, we want it to be 0.1. So type in 0.1 and hit enter. And you can see that the text now has just a slightly raised surface on the top of that bar. And notice that the text itself follows the curve here. On to page 172. It wants us to hide the extruded text. So again, I may need to use the Shift key. I think actually it's easier to pick it in the perspective view. And use that Shift key to get multiple selections for all the text. And I want to hide that. So edit, visibility, and hide. And then from the surface menu, I'm going to use the surface edit tools, and I'm going to choose untrim. And I want to pick each of the edges of the letters, and you'll notice that it fills in those surfaces. Next, I want to unlock the bottom part of the bar. So I want to unlock, edit, visibility, unlock. That way the base of the bar is available again. I'm also going to go back to edit, visibility, and show. So it brings back the Rhino text that I had hidden. I want you to show both parts of the bar. So this actually isn't in the directions in the handout, but I'd like you to go ahead and move this bar that you have here up, and then we're going to turn the default layer back on, so it shows me now both the engraved and the embossed. And I'd like you to apply some materials to each of these. Maybe a blue metallic for one, and then the other one, use a window here since they didn't union together. Use my plugin, and I want to apply maybe a yellow to this one. Do some adjustments to the environment. I want to set my ground plane to the car paint white, and I want to set my background color to white as well. And finally, I'm going to add a spotlight. And once I have all that set, I'll try rendering that. And there's my two bars, showing both the extruded and the embossed with material, with the spotlight on the car paint white ground plane. Of course, this is one that I'll save it as a JPEG to your H drive and submit that to CourseSites for a grade. And that concludes this exercise 55 for the text bar.